welcome again, Rinpoche. This evening we have questions that have been collected from various groups doing different practices. And so we have at least 12 questions or so. If we just go through, just every group gets 2 questions, 1 or 2 questions. And we have many more than that, but this will be a start. And we're very grateful to have this opportunity to explore the Dharma further. Clear enough, eh? Okay. The translator said it got across. I think I'll start with the young adult group. And Heather, are you? Yeah. And some people are here who asked the questions, others couldn't make it tonight, and I'll read the questions on their behalf. But Heather is here.
So our question for the young adult group is, as young lay Buddhists in the U.S., we live in a society that encourages busyness and material achievement. In our age group, many of us attend school, work full-time, have young children, and do not have Buddhist friends our age. Sometimes we want to practice Dharma, we want to practice Buddhism very formally and rigorously, but discover that this is not reasonable in our current hectic lifestyles.
You want to practice what?
Practice Buddhism, practice Dharma more formally and rigorously, but discover that this is not reasonable in our current hectic lifestyles. Given these difficulties, what is most important to focus on for our spiritual cultivation? How do we best incorporate Dharma teachings into our lives?
Tene konso layang leke yore, kashe di mutuni lopchong jeg yore, kashe la pugu chumo yore, ta leke mamudu. Konso di tun dampe rewa yona yang, ta tsabzam dutsu dangi mendo. Jesa ngotso di tun dam me tupna, yamene tun dam tupna yang, tun sam kapso, kari tawa kari gomna yamene di samlo kandish tangna pengires. Kotri tun dampe rewa yore, nyamlen jepe rewa yore, dopa yore, inen tutsu pechi dangi mendo.
Ta tela ngarang so tine mizike tine ta sobe ke nangdo tine chikta samlo tangyan rabo tela chik thomar ngato ya langdo ane ya tine rangdang semje tamje ane ta sanje kombang mato pardo ane konjo somla ane ya be nyang tabane tine japsunro jamro ke kor samlo chitang ni ba tela ta semje tamje ane lame zojangji salange gobar chagi di che do nga rangi ya nyordo sangje komang top chagi di ki tondo nga rang chig lunga yi sum ya ta karse gebe ke lela gobar chagi nyamba ta de semje re ta changjub de jamro dang semje teni nga ro ya tin semla che ya shar thopa na de zamji ke shara ke peyong chenpo yore tini ta chik tunzam tu so ya chik sozo la ta chik sem la chik maji pa tang trap mandik pa tezo yungwe nekab la yang yang chik gonzo som la ya tin jab sunro we ki tsol tezo samlo tang sem je hien la yang ya chik chamba tang nyingje tezo kang tup tup gom ta chik cham nyingje te 맞죠. 미직 소비 나라 다 메타 메바치레스 대여나 때는 개와 고랑히 기니야트니 랩용요레스 잠닝제스야테 잠바도 닝제스야테 되는 거랑 좀 메타 베게 거때때세냐 삼로땅 토바이나 디경 셈라 때세냐트네 펜바용레스 코르바인데 즉 동아디랑 히 닝보 메반라고 즉 삼로땅 양양 땅 토바이나 디경 즉 셈라 펜도침보 용거레스 즉 희내당 즉다 동년라 소버트 곰 때때스 요나양고 툰삼 두조 까마 찍니 지나야 양고 때때스 곰 딕 펜도침보 용거레스 다 잡아서 보였나 딘디 거다 즉 삼로 때때스 땅 톱나 그 밑에 나라 펜바침보 요레스.
So, in the midst of our busy lives, that we can't find as much time for formal practice if we would like, if any at all, we can still incorporate the Dharma into our lives by doing things like this. So, when we first rise in the morning, first make the wish or think that you and all sentient beings, from this point forward until you attain Buddhahood, are going to go for refuge in the three jewels, and do so from the very depths of your heart. Go for refuge. And then secondly, thinking that I must establish all sentient beings in the state of Buddhahood. In order to do that, I myself quickly need to attain Buddhahood. Therefore, I'm going to use my body, speech, and mind in as many virtuous actions as I can. So in this way, give rise to bodhicitta. So if first thing in the morning you can do these two things, go for refuge, give rise to bodhicitta, there's great benefit that comes from this. And then, while you're going about your day, sometimes, like when you meet difficulty, when you're having struggles of some kind, turn your mind towards the three jewels and again, rouse this feeling of refuge. And further, as you go about your day, reflect on loving kindness and compassion from time to time, in the session when you can, and then also off the cushion. Because if we can incorporate loving kindness and compassion into our lives, just into the fabric of our being, then this is incredibly beneficial. It's like, in fact, if we're going to be Buddhist, there's no way to not foster these qualities. They're critical. If we do this, then naturally we're going to take opportunities to engage in virtue. So, incorporating, working on loving kindness and compassion, whether it's formally or informally, is very important because virtue will come naturally to us. So if we can do like this, and further, from time to time, reflect upon the truth of impermanence, there's great benefit in that. If we can from time to time reflect upon the lack of inherent nature of samsara, how samsaric work is actually empty of nature, great benefit can come of this. Then maybe you can find a little bit of time in between sessions or when you're going about your daily life to maybe do just a minute or two of something like shamatha or sending and taking meditation. If you can work these into your busy lives, even if it's just for a little bit, great benefit can come from this.
Thank you.
We were curious as to what has been most challenging personally for Khenpo Rinpoche on the Dharma path. And we ask because it gives us more confidence when we know that our teachers have had difficulties practicing the Dharma because we have difficulties. So thank you.
Gulo Chungsune, the Chu Nyamlen Nangi Yorwa. Then he came to say Chu Jedu Kapsu, Kangel Tresone, Kangel Tuksone. The Shipe Gimson did it. Also sample Chichene di Lama Chemposo, Chichene Conso di Kangel Tregi Omare, Petre Tugi Omare. Kansen Conso di Kangel Mang Barchi Mambo Tugirawa. Conso sample O Chichene Lama Chemposo, Conso Petre Barche, Tukmanyons. Took nyongs, Chichene Gona, Conso di Loco Pagere, I mean, Conso di O Mishembaso and Kangel Trene, Kangel Tukne, Tapshi Tangle, the Kangel di Barche de Nepaso Tukare. Khenpo Chu Drupal Kapso the Barche Kangya Kare Kare took songs.
That and the parje, this chongs and the Hera, the Hushim, the Jetan, the parje. Young the younger Yores, Benangato in a Nasa Chongnayang, Supola Nasa Hukchimbo Chongwayanayan, Yang, she Gom Yare, and the Yasla Gomiare, Chu Dubiala, the Koti Parje Chiyore, Chu Lobjong Chiala, Ti Parje Chiyore. Oh, yeah. That Tanage, Dead on Tumbe Gajan, Sam La in the court, Sam Dang Yomong and the Dramata Jigger in the Merawas. Same mere and Nyomong by an entrament at Jagres. Or they go there in a party, thick orders. That tell us all big party, not so bad the in the march party, take yours. That party train a young party want them and the Mason watch and they go young Samson party go and they want to draw them to this. They done the legend party tongue yam dole ayata, Kandani could do yours, that party.
So I can't think of any like particular example in this moment, but of course obstacles and difficulties come, you know. Maybe it's a strong illness, and when we get very sick or something like that, it's difficult to rest in mind, it's difficult to meditate, it's difficult to practice deity meditation, it's difficult to practice or study Dharma. So we experience those obstacles all the time. Sometimes the afflictions arise in our minds, and I mean we're human, right? So the afflictions, many types of afflictions are going to come from time to time, and these also we can think of as being obstacles or impediments to our practice. But when we meet these obstacles, I mean sometimes we're able to do things to not fall under the sway of them, and sometimes we do fall under the sway of them. But what we need to do is just do our best to work with them as they arise.
다 못하네 롱게주나 다노 바제 인이야 된 망도 요스 바제 흉 체르체르로 요스 에네다 디 바제 때 냠도 때 인이야 빵자때 냠보 데 요른도 때네 에네 바제 왕도 마송과 쟤네 인이야 다 로요스 기우 담아서 에네 바제 저땅다 타말 발래 야슈 냠네 흉 첨보 증게 솔라 바제 흉 체르로 그래서 총도 말했어.
In general, for people who are practicing the Dharma in an authentic way, on a continual basis, obstacles are going to come, and they're going to be more, and they're going to be stronger. So, but together with that, we also learn the means, and we have at our disposal the antidotes to work with them. We understand what is to be abandoned. We know how to use this opportunity to make further progress, to not fall under the sway or be consumed by the obstacles. So whether we're ordinary, this is true for the great beings. So as ordinary Dharma practitioners as well, I mean, we can expect there to be obstacles in our practice.
The next question was from on behalf of board members, and they were asking, basically remembering the examples of all the different things that you are engaged in to keep all the different activities going, that they wanted to ask, since you have experience leading this complex institution and many different projects, it would be fruitful to hear your advice for how the board of directors can nourish and include bodhicitta in their work while they deal with all the myriad details of the practical things, with financial concerns, legal details, setting priorities, the complexity of the details, and working together.
하장 mambo yore da gompa she da dukang mambo ani gompa mambo yorwa so board of directors la yang konso leka mambo yorwa konso gi ship sabo samo tangore dene and leka pe mambo chung mambo yore so sasam di na pe chugi tawa lak dogere leka ram le nang chu dan jawa meba pe so jeso konso di jang chukki sem konso di Leka lengin, jamchuki sem gongin, the tapshi yorbes.
What they hear, Tapenatanda Chiranso that chuso lega lenge number so collega that jicking leg and raus yours. Some law in the country yet tango do in the attitude in the some lomang tango yord, Chitan can jicking legatan rabo yours. Taina yang in the turned la, she me mangbola, pembik chedo. Rangdu, Marang in the yata, Kevin, Mayba, and the yatine, Mihin Latine, pembik chedo, and the Tangaranga in the yatine, Lunga yesum, and the percasa, Lekan the toilet in Atin, Juyu, Kale Jagu, Kale Jabate in Atin, Hin Semje Tamjela in the Pemba shop. Sambeke, Molam Yen, and the Yatine, that she lega legging make up the Kale Tibet Necalaya, and the Yat Luton Sam tongue shake Kale Cupboard Necala, Tanicale Cabane and Tonda Yoris, Kaisna, go Memangbola, Pembic Tondala Necale Jagu, Sambato. Tinizina go Chanjup Sam, Drabaya by Insan, Nico, the legate, Lega Kankale Jabek legate, then gave it Lecalatin, John Yores.
So yeah, it can be true that when those of you working for the Dharma Center, all the details of this work that you have to do, sometimes you can get caught up in all these different things you have to do, and you can forget that it's even Dharma work. It's just like ordinary work in many ways. All the things you have to attend to, you can lose sight of what you're doing and why you're doing it. I mean, you have to improve things, you have to cover so many financial details and all these other things. You need to engage in a lot of activity. So, but what you can do is from time to time you can reflect on the fact that you're not doing this activity for an ordinary purpose. You're not doing it for your own personal profit or your own personal benefit. The work that you're engaged in, you are doing to be so that this institution can be of benefit to as many beings as possible. You're doing this for the well-being of others. So, and it's difficult sometimes. Of course, you're doing a lot of work and it can be tiring. So you should just need to remember that it's not for your own benefit, it is for the benefit of others, and you should make aspiration prayers about this work that you're doing, even if it seems kind of menial and mundane. May it bring great benefit to sentient beings. So making aspiration prayers, remembering to do that from time to time is important. And when it gets difficult, when you're overcome in body or mind, fatigued in body or mind, you can remind yourself that there is a deeper purpose to what you're doing, that there's going to be a great welfare that comes from all of your struggle. So in this way, you can fold this bodhicitta into your motivation. You can use aspiration prayers to make the wish that your work comes to the proper fruition. So in this way, if you can think like this, then all these little things you do, even when they seem menial, they're going to be great sources. There's actually going to be the accomplishment of virtue, sources of virtue and merit.
There are about 3 questions that kind of come together. Then 2 of them are from the mind training group, and another one's actually from the Mahamudra seminar practice group. And they all have to do with this notion of self and I. And 2 of them, the first 2 that really go very much together. We have read the statement that the true enemy is inside ourselves. Who is this enemy inside? When you try to demolish the ego, who is it that is trying? That's one. And then another quote. Since beginning lifetimes, you have held on to an I when there was none. Oh my goodness, I've typed this wrong. You've held on to a self when there was none, basically. Who is it? Who is the you that's holding on to the I? So those 2 are very similar.
And complicated, thank you.
Yes, and complicated. And then I'll complicate it further by adding another slight variation on this. When doing practices where we think of my practice, my meditation, my mantras, my and so on, does this focus on my serve a constructive purpose during some phase of spiritual development, or are such concerns about my practice just obstacles to the ultimate goal?
What was the first one? What's the essence of the first one?
We have read that the true enemy is inside ourselves. Who is the true enemy inside? When you try to demolish the ego, who is it that is trying?
The lojong, the sokpachi yorwa, study group. The drangoma nanglola yore.
Dranguma nalala yore.
Nanglogi dra mepa soken sures. The daki kesha mamudwa. Da.
Yeah.
Drangoma nanglola yore.
The dra the member.
Dra the mepa soken sures.
Member songi.
Damodire.
Yeah. Atangu tilende. Ta nanglo ke dra te nga sambe ke da cheparan se bik lotres. Da cheparan se bik lote mepa songe te dame topic hirap deres. Da mepa topic te ne tmame bik hirap se yore deres.
Short and sweet. The part of the question that was asked is, we say that this greatest enemy, we say, is inside. So who is it that is working to conquer this enemy that is inside? So this enemy that is inside, as we've said, is this mind that clings to or cherishes this idea of self. That which overcomes that type of thinking is the prajna, the stainless prajna that realizes selflessness.
Could you translate prajna for those who are not familiar with the term?
Shirap. So shirap prajna means this discernment, this clear discerning mind. Knows right from wrong, good from bad. The second question. I can't read my notes. Self, no self, who clings?
Oh yeah, okay. Dak mesala. Naturi dak mesala dak zingirawa. Dak mesala dak zingira. The dak mesala dak zinkin sure.
Denge korang te dares. Da karte da churwa rawa. Da me hindu da zen denge te korang de da chenze korang eniyata paksal ten chungwares.
Phrased like this, so we cling to a self where there is no self. Who is it that clings to the self? That which clings to the self is this habitual tendency of clinging to the self. Was that not the question?
It sounds good to me, but I have to look at the people who asked it to say, does that? Did you want to follow up in any way, Tim?
Thank you. There seems to be a notion that there is a self confronting a self. So that was the question. Who is it that's trying to demolish? When you read the statement that says, you demolish the I, who is the you?
And that Rinpoche covered, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the question.
Well, that more in the first one, right? It's this, like Rinpoche said, it's this prajna. This discerning mind that realizes the emptiness, that overcomes that delusion.
And the second part included, is this sense of self, you could say, is it okay to kind of use this perspective for some phase of the practice?
This is the third one, right?
Yeah, the third aspect.
We say my practice, What else was there? We say my
Well,
practice.
we were just talking about, I'm doing my practice today. I'm reciting these mantras. I'm making these. I'm taking care of my commitments. Is it okay to have this, or is the concern about my always an obstacle?
So the kumso pongdo chena, so dugyungi keche shetang la, nga nyamlen jegiye, nge nyamlen yage aus jogidu, nga dan nge, sikdi bechu tangirwa.
Nyere teda.
Di
Kodobla ti pejo tangire, ti baje matang tamere ti ko ne tangnan digeres. Digeres. Ta tanda ene dame se ate to ene yatine tamba. Ko ngupne tul tene samlo tang tu ene da se juse ene yepe rawang che. Ngupor trop denge. Je la ene yatine pe ko takpa yemba. Ten jurba tan menge. Tenda che ene yata jikten kage ke ene yatine yoban denge yores. Te tabu da che ene yatine yo mares ko 누가 하면 동 안아서 인데 히랍게 있는도 딱제 제바제는 여나 가와도 간제지도 근데 딱제잖아 니 두고면도 와대 여나 딱제 제네 그 얘기랬어 근데 딱제 제네 근데 얘기 매봐 인다 때 매빅다랬어 다들 돈 담비게 니 왕세네 해봐랬어 군도 두중 안아서 인데 땅공 출배 박자게 거 이제 만나서 다 여봐 다도 있는 게 요래서 대고 만세나 때네 내 건지가 요 말았다 이제 초고 요래서
진 초그래.
초고래서 이제 그래서
So we really don't have any choice in our conventional language but to say I am practicing, my practice seems to be going well, or my practice doesn't seem to be going well. From the point of view of the relative truth, from the conventional perspective, I mean, there's no other way to talk about these things. Now, from the ultimate perspective, is there some truly existent referent for this I and this mind? Is there something that is independent? Is there something that is substantially existent? Is there something that is permanent and unchanging, like some traditions or some cultures in the world? They do think like this. And we say, well, from this perspective, now no, there is nothing that is actually there that exists in these ways. If we use, again, our prajna, if we use this discerning mind that can tell right from wrong, this very sharp, keen intelligence is a decent word for prajna. If we use this prajna or intelligence to look into it, we can't find what we call this self. Where is it? How does it exist? There's nothing to see there. Now, if it truly existed, when you did this very careful and precise investigation, you would find it. But no matter how careful and precise your investigation is, we never find it. So this is a clue, this is the proof, actually, that it doesn't exist. That from the ultimate perspective, the self does not exist. However, from the relative perspective, in terms of the conventional world interacting in this way, we have no choice but to use this type of terminology, and from that perspective, it's okay.
Is that satisfactory? Okay, good. Let's see. Pat, your question about Chenrisi. All right. It's very simple. How is Chenrisi Mahamudra?
Chenrisi chaki Khenpo chikarabe chikayimba kangres chikare.
Chenrisi the chaje chembo. Kasang domika the huba nang here. Chunye donje in the Chenrisi tang. ane chujen kunzop tete jene sekte ta ni ye chores chunye donje jene sekte ane tongba nye tang ningje yer mepa semje nelo ane ozar te sa chaja chembore ane jene sekte te donje jene te la chi sok tang khado yep troba yo mares 다 추진 군도지 제네세 다 다른 거는 되게 곰대학들은 제네세 군도 갈보 어디네 차히 요바 차동 요바 근데 제네세 말보 어디네 갈보 단지 제 꾸이 남발라 배청 매봐 근데 요레 다 대는 거라서 그제 내가 군접게 있는 야tin 왕도 전에 네 사이크 때는 다다이 주니 내로 동반이었다 닝제 예르메베게 아니야 주니 제네식 요르 디게 있는 랑당 셈제 탐제 있는다 디게 있냐 그 주니에 셈제 남진 제투고요 말에 안데 셈제 탐제 있는 제약 돈달 이 주제 다 사이 꾸이야 넘바 샤리오 맞다 안 제네식.
So we covered this a little bit when speaking about Tara last night. We can talk about Chinrezi from the truth of the Dharmata, from the ultimate perspective, and we can talk about Chinrezi from the relative perspective. So there are these two different distinctions. So from the perspective of the truth of the Dharmata, we would say that Chinrezi is nothing other than the union of compassion and emptiness. Or we could say Chinrezi is the nature of mind, the luminosity, that is the nature of the mind. From the ultimate perspective, this is Chinrezi. From this perspective, this ultimate nature Chinrezi has no form, has no color, has no shape, etc. Now from the relative perspective, as a means to engage in like a subject-object meditation, to do this practice of Chinrezi, now there are forms, right? There are forms, there are colors. Maybe the form has 4 arms, maybe 1,000 arms, maybe it's red, maybe it's white. There are many different innumerable forms that Chinrezi may take from this relative perspective. So that is to say that we use skillful means from the point of the relative truth to make a connection with this ultimate essence. So we said that the ultimate nature of Chinrezi is this compassion and emptiness inseparable. But since this has no form, since there's no way to actually see or interact with this, other sentient beings don't have a way to connect with it. How do we get the ability or the opportunity to connect with it? This very union of compassion and emptiness, like the self, the spontaneous radiance of this, arises in a skillful form, arises in the form of Chinrezi, and therefore beings have the opportunity to interact with it and travel to the ultimate nature.
In the practice of Chinrezi, what kinds of things can we do to enhance the aspect of insight practice?
Chinrezi gom de kapso di lakton dang Chinrezi du chikla kandres komre.
No ya. Du chikla tene Chinrezi ene ko gom himba te nang la rang yem apa. Ene chui nang ge ene tene dawa sharba tab. Chui nang len da so sharba hindu ene ya. Nang la rang yen ki ma zho pa nang hindu dong hindu nyawar nang dong sung du juk big da nye te ene da chikar se jezo sung juk se nanda ene hila sung juk se nanda di to da deng yore se.
When we're meditating on this form of Chinrezi, we should recall that the form is there, yet this form has no substantial nature. It's like a moon appearing in a pool of water or on a still body of water. There's a form there. The moon is appearing on the surface of that water, so there's form, there's appearance, but there's no physical actual moon there, so there's no actual truly existing moon there. So there's appearance, yet it's empty, yet it appears. So it is the union of these two aspects. It's the very manifestation of the union of appearance and emptiness. So we talk about this in terms of creation stage and the completion stage in union. We can talk about this in terms of shamatha and vipassana in union.
have a question from Tara Group.
Rinpoche, in the Green Tara Practice Group, we request Tara's grant us her blessings. And for me anyways, the highest blessing I can imagine would be guidance on the Bodhisattva path. So the question is, what guidance do you have on such guidance from Tara? For example, I don't know if we just request the blessing but then have no expectations of anything occurring from that, if that's the most skillful thing, or are we to assume that everything in our life is now a blessing from Tara and we just aren't able to conceptualize it in that way?
Drama gomde kapsu peche marang di drama choga dungirwa drama gomde kapsu manso di jetsun drama jinji lap to so marangi sabla di jin lap yakshu toshu zapshu jang chupki lam tunya jang chupki lam di so lak wa shows tun wa shows
jang chup sem dyul
jang chupki lam lakiri jang peche di jang chupki lam so jump ship la countries jogores the incident
정줍 쌤다 말해 정줍 람
정줍기 람 the 정줍 세네 the also the sanjiki gopang sanjay gopang
topic
drop lam kala the karidi dren war shows color no more shows the countries jogo yeme then maragi sample the jenlap yaksha toshu zapshu dire so not so gi jinji lap to so the dundu kapso not so samlo tangore like peshatna marangi sapla the jenlap yakshu dire yamena the di samlo tang da di tarala shutsa ne da not so mitila kari shawayang kari yona yang di marangi jenlap jabores
not in the dot nija ta bena in the tomara in the 지르다 마서와 답데 네 다 데려와 그 장줍 쌤들 데려와데 되네 당에 이니야 도나 제 룽아 예수 자와 카레나테 네 상제 공방 토픽이 뉘올라 로트바 지존도 mek 진지 랍도 소스 서버 답사래 다데 서버 답도 걸었더니 소소라다 제게니야 냠네 가르치거나 무지 가르치거나 냠네 대내한테는 고상계 공방 토픽이 뒤라 제주 파마도믹 단데 지나미 삼바도 또 삼도 땅나 그래서
and then mixigi rewa mena jinji lap to so then got some mitila karitu ni andi jetsun domagi jinla press
다 삼로 안에 매베게 다 냠내다 지금 말아 삼로데 따고 가래나 제 인야 소소 듀라 잠령제 장죽 쌤 듀라 개버신지 랍투 소스 대내야 잠령제 장죽 듀라 개버신지 랍투 소스 소르바답네 아니 장죽 쌤 듀라 개그래 개바데 제존 도메게 지나브레 하다와테 아니 다나게 소주다 담배추 두빗 내갑라 양 가르겐 파제 망보여래 딘 가르겐 파제 다다 탐제 파마드메 세브런제 소스 대고 장주 두빗 양 차게 누구라 차게 누구래.
So I mean either approach could be correct actually. So first we supplicate Tara, right? We supplicate her to grant us her blessings, and then we can have this just general sense that having made this supplication, we can connect it with bodhicitta. May all of the things that I do with my body, speech, and mind in this life, may all of them be a means for me to progress along the path to Buddhahood. So to be a part of the path to awakening. What did you say? What were your words about that? Like what you said the highest blessing was?
Guidance on the Bodhisattva path.
So that, yeah, guidance on the Bodhisattva path, they can relate to that. So having made the supplication, having said just please, grant your blessings, then we can think that whenever all the practice we're able to engage in, or all of the virtue we engage in our practice, may it just, the proper fruit come from it. So we're usually going to have something in mind about the sort of blessings that we want to happen. Like it could be that we want for loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta to take root in our being, and we can ask for Noble Tara's blessings in that. We can also ask for things such as when we're practicing the genuine Dharma. Of course, it's quite probable we're going to meet some obstacles or negative conditions or things like this. So we can also say, please clear all of these obstacles away from our path to traveling, from our practice traveling the path to awakening. So there are many ways to look at it.
Going back to the mind training group, one of the challenging stanzas that they came across in Langri Tampa's 8 Verses of Thought Transformation, the line reads, "Whenever I interact with others, I will view myself as inferior to all." And some folks are challenged by what they see as they think in terms of the potentially dangerous even to view themselves as inferior. And I had a little interchange with Tim, and I tried to discuss this a little bit to figure out, because I know this is going to be a challenging...
We've talked about it already a bit.
No,
so it's
going to be
Khenpo
challenging.
Rinpoche spoke about it.
Okay. So the issue, just to clue other people in, the issue of self-esteem comes up, and the issue of what kind of superiority or inferiority is being pointed at. So.
The dagingi motenala di kandishurwa na inferior japanese na pe tes duga japanese mi mambo yona na duga japanese japanese konso dinde samatang du konso sampla di nika sabudu pe nika sabudu tesandi kandis go kandis language
Njikten ki tol jena tes nyenga yon ros ta chirchu lakbar dotini tikba chembu ki chula ta ti samba te metap mepares samba te yo na ane ta yinga tu danzin sita nangi drach yorwa nangi drach yu te danzin res ta tada te danzin ki tini nyembo chot yorpa yakyu de res nga tu chetang ke ene ya tini tikba chembu ke wang tu chena rang ke ene ya tini dewa ta gewa hen la par tang hen ke ene dikpa ta dongal mendo pa tamche rang ke len da hin jese ya yores en ta tanda te pe tini da hin jewa la tin ta tha nyerun do yores da hin jewa da hin jebe ke na jo yorwa tel pe ta tha nyerun do yores kaisina rang ene ta pe mensan ro song rang du hyu is rawa kyun tamje rang is yonde tamje he ane ta pe tende ke ene ya to tene da te pe ta karse kon pe da je paran de be lo ki ta nyembo de yakhu jin ro yores ane hen de lakwa de to tene hen la je paran de be lo de ya hyuk chen ro yores de la tene da hen ni wo je to go yores da hen je wa chi chung da te te ba chen bu chu yakhu de res 대제 때네 될 따지가 배 독휴인 산배 기적 때네 로고라고 충중라고 제네 네 즉선 팜로야 거야 너 근데 냐가 요 마스타티 로고 쳇는로 요르스 로도 쳇는로야 그때네 다 냠네 난고 즉 맥세지래.
We spoke about this in the car on the way over, trying to make this clear. Okay, maybe from the worldly perspective, and I take issue with actually the wording of this translation. So we looked up the Tibetan and everything. The translation here is, whenever I'm in the company of others, I will regard myself as the lowest among all. So not exactly inferior, that's a little bit different, right? This is more just like a humbling, taking a humble place, not that I'm worse or anything like that. And from the depths of my heart, cherish others as supreme. So less focus on the self, more cherishing, focusing on others. So maybe from a worldly perspective, where we're trying to get things for ourselves, make our way in the world, etc., maybe there's some danger here. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about from the perspective of the Dharma, and especially from the perspective of the Mahayana Dharma. So from the perspective of the Mahayana Dharma, this attitude is something that we can't afford to be without, actually. That is because, from the perspective of the Mahayana Dharma, we seek to give to others all of the happiness and the well-being that we have. We wish to be able to take on the negative actions, the misdeeds, and the suffering of others. We work to actually exchange self for other. This is like the heart of the mind training tradition, right? And so by assuming this attitude, by working with this attitude that we are lessening the focus on ourselves and increasing our focus on others, then this is actually bringing us closer to the place. This is actually laying the foundation where we will be able to actually exchange ourselves for others. It's bringing us closer to being able to do this. Similarly, there are teachings, as you all will know who are studying this tradition, where you think of others beings as having all these positive qualities, and whenever there's like a problem or a situation, you try and see, you regard the others as, gosh, I don't want to say it quite like this. How to reword this? We assume the faults for ourselves and we give the qualities to others, something like that. And actually by doing this is serving as an antidote to this clinging to this false notion of self. If we can assume this attitude, it serves as an antidote to clinging to the self. If we can do this, it serves as a boon or something that is going to help us be able to cherish others. So actually this saying is incredibly precious. It's like one of the best things you can do to train in this Mahayana path of the mind training. Now, if you don't have the proper relationship to this, and if you're, by reading this quote or by doing this practice, if you're thinking, oh, I'm so bad, I must be the worst among everybody, if this is leading you to a downtrodden or a depressed mind, this is a sign that you haven't actually understood what this is pointing to. Because actually, by bringing this quote, by working with this quote and putting it into practice, our sense of confidence actually should increase. Our sense of fortitude should actually increase. This type of quote, this type of reflection is actually the best means to increase our confidence, to increase our fortitude in the Dharma.
Kanga nge kese shebatin dekde yo, nge leka lebatin dekde yo, shenda norware, dek yo mare, nga le lakpa me samase, tatel ngajar segrawa. Tate chulay na kita kangarware, ngajar te ta pangku yore. Tanda te mensa song se te ta ngajar ke ine te yang nyebo chod kirpa chore. Yang ta tekbo chimbo chode samji meja pe ngonzar chimbo yore. 다양 상계 건방에 톱게 말해 나게 상계 건방 나타부겠다 나라 히랍요 말해 릭바요 말해 내게 되는 상계 건방 톱톱게 말해 내내야 되는 샘제 탐제 기도 톱톱게 말해 삼비 딘딜로 힘되기요나 야 딘딜로 힘 녀게 말해스 딘딜로 힘긴 독나 가르치는면도 그래 내 톱그래스 나라 아니 데버식비기 닝보 상계 교 나라 요레스 네 가르치는 상계지 고마 톱톱고 말다 톱 그래서 나 상계 고마 챈더니 네 드럽나 드럽 그래 드럽 내게 샘지 탐쟁에 상계지 고마라 네그톱 그래 톱을 잘 있으면 양 로고 해야지 그랬어 나도 세네 나저게요 너나 매사송 다나양 샘 힘되기도 나게 톱게 말해 샘 힘되기도 나 안티 갑라 양 와도 tiene en ngale karje de mato ngala sangje gi yores de bor hibini bo yores ata tox en yan ro yores chitang ne milare be song ji yore mensa song na tosa labs mensa song na de na en tosa lab no res kale song na jobo labs kale song na en 갈래 손에 요벌랩 다 존주 전에 배무 터네 손에 안 요벌랩 그래서 나도 배 니마 잭이 저기 쇼야 너지 양된다 표시강 대신 안 자네 가서 다 레버 톡 말에 나 상게 고만 톡 말. 배는 어때랬어.
Rinpoche is saying this is very important, so he wants to say more. In general, pride. Pride is our greatest obstacle in terms of the practice of Dharma. In terms of the 5 afflictions, the worst one is pride. Pride thinking, there's nobody better than me. I know how to speak. I know how to work. All these other people, the way they do these things, they're all mistaken. They're the ones who are mistaken, right? I know what I'm doing. This is pride. And pride is a big obstacle. This is antithetical to the Dharma, as should be very clear. So this is something that we need to abandon. So this type of verse, this is the best antidote to the sense of pride. This is like an inconceivably important practice within the Mahayana. Now sometimes if we lose our confidence and we think, someone like me could never attain Buddhahood, I don't have prajna, I don't have this discerning intelligence, I'm not very smart, I'm just ordinary, how could someone like me do this? How could I ever be of benefit to sentient beings? If we sort of shrink into ourselves, or if we lose confidence in this way, then there are things that we can do to counteract that. So basically, we need to look at our situation and apply the antidotes accordingly when we need to. So when we see that we have this pride in our being, we reflect on these teachings about seeing yourself as the lowest in the group and always working for the benefit of others. But if you find that you're falling into some pit of something where you're losing your confidence or think you're not going to be able to do this, lost your fortitude, then you reflect on, well, on the other hand, why couldn't I do this? I have Buddha nature, just like everyone else has Buddha nature. The cause for Buddhahood is within me. So why can't I? Why couldn't I attain enlightenment? If I practice hard in this very life, why couldn't I attain Buddhahood and work for the benefit of all sentient beings? I can do this, I will do this. On the other hand, then when you find yourself getting prideful again, then we have another saying, which is take the lowest seat. Always assume the lowest position. If you see the pride, you do something like this to employ an antidote to undermine that pride. And again, if you find that, now you're feeling like you're too low, like you've lost your confidence, then you do things to raise your mind, to increase your confidence. You reflect on the truth of the fact that you have Buddha nature. So there's a quote by Milarepa, or a string of quotes, that say, by assuming the lowest seat, one is actually elevated. By going slowly, one will actually arrive quickly. So the first one is clear, right? The second one, by going slow, you will arrive quickly. This is associated with our perseverance or our diligence. And that is to say, better than doing, some great feat of Dharma practice for one day or some short period of time and then setting it aside. Going slowly, meaning continuously, slowly but continuously. By working like this, working in this way, one will be able to quickly give rise to the result of that practice.
Thank you very much for taking the time to go into that in some detail. It's very helpful. The young adult group had another question.
We were scheduled to go till 6, but A, we came in a little late, and B, maybe there's just a little more time, but if someone has made a commitment to be out of here by now, feel free to get up and go.
So this is a shorter question. What would you say to a young person in this country who's interested in monasticism?
다데 domba hyala tene chaje mangbo changkore ta range ne ndoba yoba ndoba hyok chenbo yoba tene lo nikyu tamba lomba tene pameke tene nangwa toba pamake ene ya ta charang domba hyuna digres ene domba hyuna digres gaksa meba tene to ene ya tene pena gelong ke domba ndabo shina lo nikyu tamba lo ku yore lo nikyu tamba malona ene nange ke nangcho yo mares hyungen ke hyucho yo mares tene chek lula ene chek nazan rameda meba lu tangbo yoba sem tangbo yoba chek sem nyomba la soba sem tangbo ma tinda ina topgo yo mares sem kora takta ene manyomba lula nazan rameda meba ta tinde ke ene ya tene chaje changku yores.
So in order to take vows, one needs to have several types of conditions in place. First, of course, there should be the desire to take the vows, but not just any desire, it should be quite strong. It should be quite strong. And secondly, one should be at least 20 years of age. One should have permission from one's parents, so that is no objection. They should think that it's okay and not have any objections to one doing so. So in terms of the age, it says in the text that if one has not reached the age of 20, then one can't receive, for example, the full monastic ordination. And further on top of that, one should be generally free of sickness. Shouldn't have a lot of sickness or illness in one's body. And it's important that one's mind is clear. One should have a clear and stable mind and not have any, should be clear in mind, not impaired in some way in terms of mind. So at least all of these things need to come together. We need many different supports to be in place.
Tenda chena rigi yo mares. Tangone sozo ene ya sangye kombang top gudo, sangye kombang toba cheba la, nginta pe domba, he turum la ne gudo, turum chungna, ene tingente gom top gire, tingente gomban la, ene hirap gyo le kegire. Tenda songna ene ya ta ti koti domba songma tiki peyon di ha go ne, ene tel ya teba nying toba ji ne, ene hyuna domba di top gire. Mato yang ta tsu ndaw ta ne, chena yang
So it's important that one has real conviction in the reason that they're doing for it. That it's not just, you shouldn't have an attitude, oh, that kind of looks interesting, maybe I want to try that out, as sort of kind of some temporary thing. If one really and truly feels that they need to practice to attain the state of Buddhahood, one needs first to have this foundation of ethical conduct. And that's what the vows are about, helping with that. And then once one has that ethical conduct, then one will be able to meditate, give rise to the samadhi. And then once one can give rise to the samadhi, then one can generate or give rise to this, again, prajna, this discriminating intelligence or insight. So this is a process. These three flow in a sequence. So again, you should have this, if you want to take the vows, it shouldn't be just to try out something that you're interested in or that looks interesting. You should really feel this strong need to do so, understand the benefits of keeping those vows, and from that perspective, take them. And if you can take them from that perspective, then you'll be able to receive them and there will be benefit.
Do you have any observations about the particular circumstances in the West in relationship to monastic vows, beyond these rather extensive, basic, universal principles?
in the blog me. Domba Hune. Nubjo me Domba Hune, Teneta Songe de Combo Dogs. Tangbo da domba hyal pen domba hyok chenbo domba hyok insek dos ta jo domba ma hyu domba hyu ne song tup ge mare kale khabo yores to kharja song ma tebres song tup gres en kyol kale kange ke meves ka de ta domba hinjik mujik hyu hinjik mujik na ro chi song tup ge re song kharja ne medebse tene uzok jag dos te uzok jag do okay se ta de domba dangres nang logic ni che o song dos tene ta song to me domba ni ya ke se ta te pe kala khabo do nga do nupchol ndi lukso ni yo maris kiran so dan dag maris ta yang mandik be dangbo tan drigres ndrigbe ke tin chaje kanga hye yong gres song to be ke chaje kanga korang to gres 다 되네 네 제마다 송 메터 베게 있는 가르제 망보 있는 거는 당으로서 다 도마르스 때때네 양 domba 파빵 롱이 도스 페제다 되네 타르칭게 세주데 베칼레 카보도스 domba.
What I see in terms of Westerners and monasticism is that those who keep the vows are pretty rare. It's pretty rare for one to keep the vows. First people approach and then they talk about how much they need, how much they want to take these vows. And usually some advice is given to them. Oh, I think it will be very difficult for you to keep the vows. I think you're going to find a lot of obstacles in your way, and I think maybe it's not for you. If you say something like that to them, they sort of get a little defensive and say, why wouldn't I be able to keep the vows? Or, what is it that that makes me so different that I wouldn't be able to do that? And then no matter what you say, many of them they will insist, no, I must have them, I want to get them. And when they insist like that, there's nothing to do but give them. And so usually the master says, okay, and they give them the vows, and maybe for 1 or 2 years they keep the vows okay. But then often they come back around that time and they say, oh, I think it's going to be very difficult for me to keep the vows. I don't think there are the supports in place. Before there were many reasons why they would be able to keep the vows, and now there are many reasons why they can't. So from what I see is it's quite difficult for the vows to be kept.
Thank you. Tracy, you had a question about Vajrasattva practice?
Yes, thank you. Rinpoche, you had said earlier tonight to expect obstacles to arise, especially if we're practicing a lot. And so as a beginner in the Mahamudra practices, beginning Nundro, I am noticing that. And in Vajrasattva practice, in particular, there's this, in trying to imagine the Amrita coming down into my body from the visualization of Vajrasattva, I find that instead of being able to imagine goodness entering my body and the purification, the goodness of purification, I'm just aware of all the impurity and the obstacles and the bad karma, which doesn't seem helpful.
Doesn't, does it?
No. What may I do to meet this obstacle?
Dutsi di nge dikchuk chasang di dakchigires di samlo tang tuptimendu marangi kyan marangi le migewe le marangi tikpa marangi dripa matok drangi mendus all barche chimpo mambo yose da tunkin yosumares matok drangi mendu so marangi sampla di barche chimpo du barche di khandre snake so tukire
tate dutsi mbepchong mikpa tate kogyores Mena dati kabla kare dutin bepjong tupki dog sera kare dutin te kare bep tupki dog sera
marang di gong de kapsar wa di ta nge dikri chasan dak jogeres di samlo tang tipimendu di samlo korimendu manangi dikpa mambo yepa dripa mambo yepa nongyape kalo yepa
yeah dictate taya yores takyo yores takyo yobate dikpe ki yoderes dikpa ko edia mare tatesene dikmare dikpa korang edia tine ko ranghin ki drop diyo mare takpa mare temba mare ko takyo yores karena ko ngubo karena ko nyembo de yores 단 딕텝팅 간다레스 디녀보데 된 도제셈베게 검데레스 대손도데 드네 다 인식문제 양 두쯤 맵종 제네 애니야 다가 요새 삼바 당마듬나 양 직셈제나 잠바다 인제 라마라 대바다 무구 대조기 토네 애니야 그냥 삼로 당나 양 애니야 딕텝 다도 그래서 강다 딕텝도 다기 요래 다 누구 요삼을 이나 다와데 다고 코바 통만 바바는 데고 삼지 미자바 사요레스 두이적라 남장 이나 딕바 탐제 다노 말레스 고 칼레 칼레트네 냠보 삼로 망보 땅고 망보 잡네 고 칼레 이니야 다 요레스
So it's important that we remember that these negativities, these obscurations, etc., these aren't truly existent. So of course, they can be purified. That is because for any phenomena, there's sort of any phenomena that has come about by causes and conditions, there are causes and conditions to make that phenomena go away. So, I mean, it's good if we can do this visualization. This visualization is very important, this nectar falling and purification happening. But if at one particular time, for this particular time, for some period of time for you, if this is difficult, then there are other things that you could do in place of that and see if that helps. So, for example, instead of trying to focus on that, you could focus on the giving rise to loving kindness and compassion towards all sentient beings.
지단게 다디 두치 웹종 디게 제네 딕바 다가 여삼게 저 이진다고 다 뭐제 두기요 말봐
이제 얘네들 공도 가서 다 남토디 나 딕바 망고 여스 트리퍼 망고 여스 남토 케기도 미코 야포제 팁스 말에
따테 딕바 여 트바 여 대다 삼고레스 된 기지가 말았어 대 삼네 되거랬어 따테 딕바 여 트바 여 여바테 네tin 도제셈베케 네tin 곰데라 테네 에네 탁버 효서 도제셈발 테 소라다 고레 소라다 발라 테네 틴티 도제셈베 콜레 에네 두티기 듀엠파네 티 타가 여 삼고였다
디 용이면도 디 다저기 여스 디 삼바 용이면도 나 딕바 망보 여스 마도 삼로 요마 다
딕바 망보 여스 티 다 여바티 그 대자 고요레스 다테 고 갈래가 제 고레 제답 제 고레스
근데 잠 닝제다 라마기 무고
대조양 그 대조 삼로 따네 양 딕텝에 야티네 다 투그레스
예 도리 셈바 공도 갑서 디 삼로 탕나 되게래
데 되게래
디츠 백준 미 퍼마제 잠 닝제고 무고 데보고.
So even in the context of the Vajrasattva practice, to take a break from this visualization for a bit, to reflect on the loving kindness and compassion towards all sentient beings, to reflect on generating faith and devotion towards the Guru, these can be very helpful. These also serve the purpose of removing obscurations and misdeeds. So not exactly sure what the hang-up is for you, but that's possible, right? Maybe if you're struggling with... So you're trying to do the visualization, but this is what I was saying to Rinpoche, and maybe I got off track, but you're trying to do the visualization, but you can't think about the fact that the things are being purified. You're just thinking about the fact that the obscurations and the misdeeds are there, and there are a lot of obstacles in practice.
Well, yeah, and it's more like a sensation, like the goodness comes down, and then it's like, the sensation is that there's just, there have been bad actions in the past, it's more, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's a sensation that there have been bad actions in the past.
That are like, nope, not going away.
I see.
Da chichena marangi sampala marangi ngoma di sakpe dikpa pemese be chimpo du jesang di dutsi bapchung di dak tupki ma du kanin sen marangi dikpa pe chimpo du.
Tupki res. Duglo sokpa chi duglo sokpa chi derwa. Ngado duglo pe ma sa sokpa chi ma de sokpa pe chakpa ma po yawa chi duglo chi na. Da de chugu derwa. Yizi jam de chu. And the truth of that day in the duglo sokpa de chugu dio de taga mare sande and the chugu marwat. Ta taga yorwat. Chugu 다가 닭주 여삼네 이 같은 추여로 봐. 추는 다가라 왔어. 배때 나이게 득바 첨보 여세. 때 여네네 거든 득바데 답에 탑을 저거로 탑 좀 받을 때네 야 더 여삼 그랬어. 둘러 줘봤다 배샤네.
Yeah, but you're still doing the practice, and Rinpoche says, so let's say if we have some clothes or some cloth that's gotten very dirty, right? And if we want it to be clean, then we do things to make it clean, right? We get some water, we get some soap, and we start to wash it. If you didn't think it could be cleaned at all, you wouldn't even bother trying to wash it. So you're trying to wash now, yeah? And then we find that it can. Maybe it's a process, but it definitely can be cleared. And through this practice, there's just no doubt that it can be cleared. So there's really no reason to think like that. Like Rinpoche just said already, for any phenomena, there's another phenomena that can counteract it. So this is absolutely true in this context. It's said to be the most profound practice actually for doing so. So, but if you do feel, so it's good to continue to work with it. In the very beginning, Rinpoche said that this is a very important practice and we need to do this. But that doesn't mean that if you get stuck from time to time, you can't, as Rinpoche said, in the context even of Vajrasattva practice, take a break and reflect on loving kindness and compassion towards sentient beings, reflect upon the qualities of the Lama, develop faith and devotion, etc., and then go back. And then because if we do this practice, it's completely certain that anything can be purified. So it's important to keep working with it, keep doing the practice, and through this, definitely all obscurations can be purified. And if you feel stuck, make the aspiration that may this feeling of stuckness be purified. Work with whatever comes. Maybe one more, yeah? One last one, Bill?
Sure. I was about to joke that I think we only have time for 12 more questions. But so it's actually quite difficult. We could go into the 5 Buddha families or explain the concept of mandalas, but I think the last one will be back from the Chenrezig group. And when we're carrying the practice between sessions, generally some suggestions about doing that, but in particular when we are trying to view other beings as Chenrezig, to actively visualize them. Should we actively visualize them as Chenrezig? And then what to do when we try to think about them as Chenrezig, but we go, no way, not that one.
Chenrezig gongirwa, Chenrezig tun samsu, tun sankapsu, gyunher, da tun samla kare, gyunher yakshu kare de, samlo tangtang yamena de, tawa yakshu kare de, tere di gangla tsam langa su di simshin shimpa so, simshin tamche Chenrezig res, di kapso nga su Chenrezig drapo tongo res, Karpo yimpa, ugi lu, karpo yimpa.
다때 나는 래 당보밖에 통을 말해서 그 뭐바래 삼바 마다게. 뭐바제래. 다이나 양 배나저 바 문에 전에 깨름라 야던 라왕 톱 산게. 땜바 톱 산게. 되네. 된데게 야드네. 나와 탐제에 야드네. 노주 탐제에 야드네. 제네스게 야드네. 고당 신감라 야드네. 색투그레스. 그 색투그레. 다들 라왕 톱에 배테 톱을 랩생게 나줘 봐. 깨름도 도름도 때 땜바 톱 탄게. 만나서 대나게 톱고 말했어. 딱그 뭐바제 거렸어. 이나 당봉아도 뭐바제는 뜨니까 갈래 야야. 단 로고 여러 봤어.
And samsan ladi me test me marap sabo to. Okay, simche mang cheo Chenrezig yinsere. 코 진외지 자원이 인식이 말이야.
어다데 노르바데 데 삼지요 마데세 샘제 탐제 인디아 틴 제네스 인 코 제네스 많이 비줌제 카리오레 코 인디아 틴 마랍다 샘제 탐제 수테나 코 녀몽 다보레 상마다 인 마랍데 요레스
엔디 춘상 값을 가리가리 겁나 야버려 진외지.
다 튼삼 갈라 탄다 들어와 그 튼삼 갑라 인디아 틴 제 가도 제힐랍소나 나완데 탐제 인디아 틴 제네스 고다 hin감이 삼 디삼로 양내양도 단계 도시 그래서
So at first, as beginners, we're not really going to be able to see beings as Chinrezi, like especially in the form. Like in the form of Chinrezi, we're not going to be able to see the realm or the world in terms of the pure realm. For great yogis who have mastered, or yoginis who have mastered the creation stage practice, who have attained high-level realization, for them it's possible. What they experience, as said, is they see the world as a pure realm and they see the inhabitants as beings like Chinrezi. So this is possible only for those who have complete mastery over the practice. For us, we just need to we just think, okay, they must be, or, we're not going to see them as it, but they are, maybe in terms of nature. And gradually, by working with this intention, we can increase it over time. Now, when you meet one person who you think, okay, maybe everyone else, but definitely not this one, I mean, of course that's a mistake. If we say all sentient beings are the nature of Chinrezi, why would it be the case that one, just one, does not have that nature? All of us are proud owners of the kleshas. Kind of sounds like that in Tibetan. All of us are under the sway of the kleshas, and so maybe some of us more stronger fashion than others. But we should understand, since all sentient beings have the same nature, of course, one isn't going to be excluded from this. And in general, for the advice on what to do in general in between sessions of Chinrezi practice, whenever our mindfulness arises and we can bring our mind to something, to do just that, to reflect on the fact that all sentient beings are in fact this way, that the world is in fact this way, and to reflect on this again and again is very good.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Rinpoche.
No, thank you. Okay. Let's check.